following program is for informational and educational purposes only. This program does not replace medical, mental health, or psychological diagnosis and treatment prescribed by your personal physician, psychologist, therapist, or other healthcare provider. Please consult your provider for diagnosis and care before beginning or changing any program or idea discussed.
Welcome to She Talks Health with Sophie Shepherd. Today's woman has a lot of questions about their health and lifestyle choices. But where can you get the right answers? The answer is here and the time is now. Here is your host, Sophie Shepherd.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to She Talks Health, and this is your host, Sophie Shepherd. We are here on the Voice America Health and Wellness channel, and Voice America is actually the largest live internet radio network in the world. So I want to humbly welcome each of you to this incredible episode we have for you today. And I really want to thank you for listening because I know that time is scarce and content is abundant right now. So we just really value you taking time out of your day to learn more about how you can support your health. And today's topic is sleep. Sleep is essential for the foundation of health. So essential, in fact, that I actually include it as a core pillar in my signature 6-month Shine Health program, which is my one-on-one program where I help women get their menstrual cycle and their hormones back on track. And the simple truth is, if you aren't sleeping, much good will be undone. From our immune system to our gut to our brain to our hormones, every system in the body works better when we sleep. And when we don't, there can be disastrous effects from increases in heart disease to weight gain and so many more. And it's so funny because I work with a lot of women who, want to lose weight as a side effect of our work together. And I often find that they're eating a pretty good diet, but they aren't willing to manage their stress or they're not getting a good night's sleep. And the truth is you just simply cannot balance your hormones and lose weight if you aren't sleeping well. And what I find so fascinating about this topic is that as human beings, we know all of this. We know that sleep is essential, and yet we either aren't prioritizing it or sleep is just elusive to us. So as a recovering theater night owl, I still find sleep to be one of the things I need to practice. And just like anything else, it's a practice. So this episode is for all insomniacs, midnight worriers, ex-theater geeks, or, the like. And we really want to talk about how you can get back to sleep if you're waking up between 2 and 4 a.m., which is super common, or if you're the type of person just laying awake at night trying to get your brain to shut off. There's a reason for that, and there's action steps that you can take today to get a perfect night's rest. So in this episode, we have, I keep calling him the sleep guru himself, Devin Burke, who will be giving you the lowdown on how you can get those essential Z's. And Devin Burke actually helps CEOs, high achievers, and exhausted insomniacs get and stay asleep so they can wake up with more peace, power, and presence. He is an author, speaker, renowned sleep coach, and the founder of Sleep Science Academy, which helps people to stop suffering and start sleeping using a unique holistic approach based in science. He was named one of the top 25 health coaches in America and has studied innovative holistic coaching methods from some of the world's top health and human performance experts for over a decade. Devin, welcome to She Talks Health. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Sophie. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Yes, I feel like now more than ever, it's so important to be getting good sleep. And let's just start there, right? Let's start with the big thing that's on everyone's mind right now, which is COVID-19. How can we protect ourselves from it? And what's going on each day seems to be, the main focus for everyone. So I would just, if you're open to it, just tell us, what your COVID-19 experience has been so far. And then maybe we can talk about why sleep is even more important now than ever.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think, right now, most people are obviously more concerned than ever about their health. And sleep is, I believe, the foundation of health. And it's when our bodies and our minds restore. It's when our immune system repairs our body. And unfortunately, because of all the stress and anxiety that people are experiencing, because of changing work environments, because of losing their jobs, because of just worrying about family members, a lot more people are having challenges getting and staying asleep, which is kind of a double-edged sword because, that's when our bodies heal. That's when our bodies recover. That's when our mind works out the emotional traumas of the day. And, so stress and sleep, they're bi-directionally linked. So, which means simply that the more stress you experience, the lower quality of sleep you get. And the lower quality sleep you get, the more stress you experience. So it's kind of like this vicious cycle, and people get caught on it. And if they aren't able to get off of the cycle, they kind of can fall into what I call the insomniacs paradox, which is where they become stressed and anxious about their sleep. And
Absolutely.
that's what, right now I'm so happy to be on the show. This is such a timely episode, I think, to share this information, because, I'm trying to help people before they get into that paradox, where the more they try to sleep, the more elusive sleep is, because sleep is something that happens naturally every night. It's not something we can force. It's not something we can control, but there are things that you can do to promote sleep. And I'm really excited to share what some of those things are with you in your audience today.
Absolutely. I love what you said here. I think this is such a crucial part for me as a health coach, as well as never trying to force anything onto somebody or have them force their way into it. We just did some self-massage we learned from a licensed massage therapist in my Facebook group how we can do self-massage, because everyone's kind of tight, right? Their shoulders up around the necks, or maybe they're, like me, they're sleeping in a new bed because I got out of New York. And so, the pillow's not necessarily working. And I said to them, we really want to just ease into this self-care practice, right? We don't want to force our way into anything, because the brain is smarter than that. It knows, right? To say no to that. So we really want to just promote it peacefully. And I think that this connection between stress and sleep is so crucial. I mean, I have so many clients who are like, oh, I'm ruminating. So we're working through, what I know about sleep, but I can't wait to hear more about, what you're going to share with us. I think maybe before we go into the exact tips, because we'll go into that for a while, I'd love to know, maybe even before COVID-19, what are the top reasons you see as a sleep coach that people aren't sleeping? Is it this main thing? Is this stress connection, or what are some of the things you're seeing?
Yeah. So there's really the first one, 100% is stress and anxiety. It's unmanaged stress and anxiety, mental, emotional, usually. And then the second one is poor sleep hygiene. So that means people have bad practices around sleep. They don't provide the proper opportunity to get sleep. They don't prioritize what they should be doing to promote sleep. It's just one of those things that a lot of times people just don't really think about. And that's a huge one, because, and that honestly, in my journey, that I woke up, I was like, wow, like I had no idea all the amazing things that happened during the night. I thought it was just kind of like, oh, sleep. You just happens, right? Like I never really thought about it. And then when I started to study it and like really understand some of the science around it, and how it impacts our hormones, and how it impacts our brains, and how it impacts our immune system, then I was like, wow. So I think a lot of people just don't understand how important it actually is. And when they start to understand how important it is, then hopefully they start to prioritize it. So the second thing, really, again, it's the sleep hygiene, which is your habits, your rituals, your routines around sleep. And the third thing, really, I think for people is really, I think it's more about prioritizing. So again, people just don't prioritize it. They just think that it's something that isn't important. And it is. I mean, it's one of the most, I think it's the best gift you could give yourself every day, is to do things to promote your sleep, do things to relax your mind and body so that you can get to sleep. And that means practices, habits, rituals, routines. That means, managing your stress throughout the day. That means, it means a lot of things. But that takes intention. It takes attention, and it takes willingness to put in practice some new habits and ways of being, because, it's so easy to get caught into that Netflix binge and just be like, I'm just going to, continue to watch whatever. And we all have been there, right? I'm guilty of it too. And it does take discipline. And that, that's a big thing I think a lot of people struggle with is, they have sleep procrastination and they have poor discipline when it comes to sleep. So those are some things.
I want to pull out a couple things in here because I think it's important to get behind the psychology of why people don't prioritize this, and I think it goes back to the unconscious mind needing to be in control in a way, because this is what we know as health coaches, right? You can give people all the reasons in the world to do something, but they have to be tied to it emotionally. They have to choose this emotionally. And I think that is actually why telling people why it's so important to sleep, how this actually affects their life can be so crucial, right? Especially, we'll take right now as an example. So, most people are, or I shouldn't generalize, but I know a lot of people are having trouble sleeping. Yeah. And a lot of them, like you said, they're not doing a lot of good sleep hygiene. And the reason they're not doing a lot of good sleep hygiene, I would imagine, is because they aren't prioritizing it. Why aren't they prioritizing it? Well, just from my sample of clients that I have heard from, they're afraid. When they get into bed, that's when they start to ruminate. They don't create any space in their day to give back to themselves, to have kind of that time where they can process the day's events. And what's really interesting is that now that we have constant media and alerts coming in, and we're in this situation, that's all highlighted. It's all amplified. Before, maybe it was easier to just kind of push and barrel past that. Now it's not. And now we're seeing the effects of not getting good sleep. I'm seeing it a lot with clients who are coming in, new clients who are coming in and having issues with their menstrual cycle, or they're having issues with headaches, or they're having issues with weight gain and things like that. And so, when we can apply it to the actual person, I think that's really, really crucial. I wonder if you could share a little bit more about kind of what are some of the results when you don't sleep. So you touched on it in the beginning, in your intro of the show here. One of the biggest ones is weight gain, or the inability to lose weight. That's a huge one. So many people focus so much on diet and exercise, and they totally forget about sleep and stress. And I kind of put sleep and stress together as brother and sister. And, you could be doing all the right things. You could be eating the right diet. You could be moving your body enough. But if you're not getting sleep, and if you're not really understanding and practicing what I call stress mastery techniques, your body's going to hold on to weight. So that's a huge one. Weight loss, immune system, every night, cytokines, these little proteins, they're what boost our immune system. That's when all the magic happens. That's when, our glymphatic system, it's like, you can think of the glymphatic system as the lymph system for the brain. Our brain actually shrinks, and this like cerebral spinal fluid washes over our brain and removes the plaque that builds up and causes Alzheimer's. This is the stuff that's happening when we sleep. And a lot of times most people are not like myself. I was ignorant to it. I had no idea that all this was happening during the night. It's like, it's amazing. And not only that, in different stages of sleep, different hormones are released in balance. Estrogen, testosterone, all of these important human growth hormone in delta sleep, which is deep sleep. All of these incredible things happen when we give ourselves the opportunity, not just to get enough sleep, but to get quality sleep. Because there's a difference between getting sleep and getting quality sleep. And we can riff on that a little bit, but also for the emotional body, that again, this is when we're dreaming, when we're in REM, rapid eye movement, when we are working out the emotional traumas that we didn't maybe know how to deal with during the day, that we didn't understand what was actually even there because it was subconscious. It's incredible. And not only from like cleaning up the emotional stuff, but also coming and connecting with creative, innovative ideas. And in my TEDx talk, I talked about this. Some of the most amazing inventions have happened during the night, during sleep. Paul McCartney, the song Yesterday, he thought of that while he was dreaming. Dmitri Mendeleev, all these periodic table, all these incredible things happen. And it can happen when you give yourself the opportunity not only to get enough sleep, but to, again, increase the quality of your sleep. Wow. You are an encyclopedia about sleep. I love it. And one thing that I just wanted to pull out that I think this audience probably can resonate with, because it's mostly women, is this allowing yourself to get this good quality sleep. That that's when you're resting, guys, when you're in that state of resting, even during the day, if you're in that parasympathetic rest and digest place, that's when creativity comes about. That's when you're able to deeply connect. That's when you're able to assimilate new information into the body. And what I see so often, especially as someone who's based in New York, is this chronic go. And what this COVID-19 situation has done for so many people is it's brought it to a screeching halt. And so it's been an interesting time to look and reflect and maybe prioritize sleep. So yeah, so maybe we should talk a little bit about the quality part. I know I also really want to talk about sleep hygiene and why that's so important. So I'll leave it to you to kind of riff on that a little bit.
Yeah. So, I love what you said about giving yourself permission, because that's a lot of people, they don't give themselves permission. I mean, that's really what it starts with. It starts with allowing yourself to care enough about yourself, be compassionate to yourself, to give yourself the gift of sleep, right? And that starts with giving yourself permission, and that starts with making some new decisions around sleep. And when we talk about quality of sleep, I always like to give the example. Some people that I speak to, they're like, oh, I can have a cup of coffee after dinner and go to sleep fine. But I always tell them, well, if we put you in a sleep lab, or if we put you even on some of these devices, these trackers, you would not be getting into deep quality sleep, delta sleep, REM sleep. And you may be sleeping 8 hours, but your body isn't dropping into these deeper states of sleep, which is where a lot of magic happens, which is where some of the things that I already spoke about, really take place. So it's not just the getting the hours of sleep. It's also focusing on, well, how can I put in place practices that will allow me to get into these deeper stages? Now, how do you measure quality of sleep? Now, this is really important. You can't manage what you don't measure. And I'm a huge believer in data, taking data, and then making meaning around the data. So tracking your sleep, I think, is one of the most important things that everyone should do. And if you're an insomniac, let me just say this: tracking your sleep might not be the best thing to do unless you have somebody to guide you on the information. Because you get information, and then what happens is we make meaning around that information. If we don't know what to do with the information, it actually can create more stress and anxiety. But I believe that everybody should track their sleep. I think that's like, if you're going to track something, most people track their calories. Some people, track their steps. I'm a huge believer that everyone should track your sleep, because that's how you can tell, okay, I did X, Y, and Z, and wow, look, I got an hour and a half of deep sleep. Or I did, A, B, and C, and wow, look, I got, 2 hours of REM sleep. And, so it's like you can actually now measure. And these fitness trackers, the one that I personally recommend and use in my own practice is called the Oura Ring. It's very accurate. I mean, it's amazing. You can actually see the different stages of sleep, how much time you spent in each stage, your sleep latency, which is how fast you fall asleep, your sleep efficiency, which is how much time you're in bed actually sleeping. And all of this data can empower you to continue to put in practice some of these things until you start to feel it. Because this is a really interesting thing. Most people are operating at maybe 60% of their energy capacity, and they don't even know. They think, oh, I feel pretty good. I have pretty good energy. But if they were to put in practice some of these sleep hygiene techniques and optimize their environment and do some of the things that we're going to talk about on the show today, they're going to experience a whole new level of energy. And you don't know until you have the experience. So that's where it gets a little tricky, because most people think that they feel good, or they think that low energy is normal. It's not normal. It's they think that waking up feeling groggy and unrested is normal. It's not normal. It might be the norm. It's not normal. So this is where it becomes a little bit challenging, because a lot of this stuff becomes our set point. And when you put in place good sleep hygiene, when you're mindful of the practices around sleep and you're taking care of yourself, that's when you open up and you start to experience these new levels of thinking, these new levels of energy, creativity, and all this amazing things can happen for you. So it's hopefully that gives the listeners some motivation to dive into what we're gonna be talking about as far as strategies go.
Yes, I love that. I love that so much, because you're right. I mean, most clients, when they come to me, they try to justify where they're at. And I can really resonate with that. When I was really sick with Hashimoto's, I mean, talk about an energy zap. That's autoimmunity of the thyroid. So you're sleeping, but you're not regenerating. And I, for a long time, just justified it. I thought, well, yeah, everyone's tired, right? Everyone's tired. And I always say, now I relate it to more PMS or menstrual cycle issues. Just because something's common does not mean that it's okay, that it's normal, right? Yeah. Just because society has decided we need to sleep less and work more, that doesn't mean that's actually what's healthy for us. And when we allow ourselves to get that sleep, then we are capable of incredible things. I mean, imagine what it would be like, you guys, if you were getting that extra 40% energy capacity. What could you create in that time? I mean, that's amazing. So I think let's start in on sleep hygiene, and we might get broken up by the break halfway through, but can you talk about what it is? And maybe also, I mean, I don't know if other people relate to this, but because of what I do, we talk about it a lot, and I think people can start to roll their eyes a little bit like, oh, he's going to tell me to turn my screen off and I can't do that and la 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 la. So let's talk about what it is and maybe some tips, and then how do we work around the resentment towards it? That's a good place to start. So you can think sleep hygiene is simply your habits, rituals, and routines around sleep. So what you do throughout the day, and I always tell people a great night's sleep happens as soon as you wake up. So what you do throughout the entire day is going to impact your ability to get peaceful sleep at night. So some of the things, I mean, I look at things from a holistic perspective. So, and I know, Sophie, you do the same. So looking at the mind, the body, your environment, all of these are impacting the level of sleep that you're going to be able, and quality of sleep that you're going to be able to get. So the first off, let's just start with what I call a bed buffer. So this is, if there's only one thing that you do from now on, there's only one thing you get from this, let it be this. Have a buffer between your day and the time that you get into bed. Because people think that, you can't, our minds are not like light switches. You don't just turn the mind off. There needs to be space between your day and your night. And because of Netflix, because of, just we have constant entertainment, especially right now, it's even more difficult, and I feel for people, but there needs to be a transition. There needs to be a buffer, because that is going to allow your mind and your body to begin to unwind, to begin to prepare for sleep. So that could look like, I'll just share mine. So what this looks like for me is I write down the things that I accomplished in the day. I check them off. I look at, okay, what's on tomorrow's schedule, and then I close my day out. And then what I do is either I'll go for a walk, or I will take a hot shower, or go for a walk and then take a hot shower. And then I, read, I do some stretching, I do things that relax my body and mind. And then I put away the screen. And this is hard. And I'll be very honest, some nights I don't. And I have these blue light blocking glasses that I'm actually wearing right now on the show here. And there's things you can do to get around this. But ideally, you don't touch your screens for at least an hour, whether that be your phone, your iPad, your computer. You just allow yourself to disconnect from technology. And it's hard to do. And we can talk about really some strategies. Yeah, we have about 5 minutes till the break. Let's just sum up where we are, and then we'll go into that. So I love this. This is exactly what I tell my clients as well. You have to create a buffer, right? Our brains just don't work this way, you guys. And a lot is coming in. I think we forget how much we're processing. I mean, I can't remember the statistics, but it's like we have millions of unconscious thoughts throughout the day. So I love this. And the blue light blocking glasses are really helpful. Although I'll be honest, and I wonder if you would have a solution. I have regular glasses, so I'm always like, what do I do if I have regular glasses? Do you have a solution?
Yeah, I do actually. So there's an app. There's two apps that I recommend. One is called Flux. It's completely free, and the other one is called Iris. Iris is a little bit more, I would say, comprehensive, and I think it's like maybe $5. But essentially what it does is it filters out the blue light on your computer. Now, if you're watching your phone, there's a thing that you can do is you can actually set your phone to I believe Apple now does have some sort of blue light diminishing sort of nighttime screen apparatus that you can turn on.
Yes,
but there's
another.
So. You can turn your phone. So I'll kind of just, your audience is listening, but for those that are going to watch this, you can actually hit this. You can make it completely with no color. Now there's still light coming out of that, but at least that helps with the stimulation, because it's not just the light, it's also the stimulation that you're getting from it. Yeah. So a lot of people think, oh, it's just the blue light. And yes, that blunts melatonin production, which melatonin is a sleep hormone, which promotes the onset of sleep. But it's also the stimulation. It's not just the blue light, it's the stimulation. So even if you're checking social media and you're seeing, all your friends doing things, and you're like thinking, oh, I wish I was there doing that, or I should, and you start to should on yourself because you see these amazing lives that people are living, and so it creates stimulation. Or you're watching a TV show and it's violent, or it's whatever it is. It's
Ozarks right now.
So it's stimulating the mind, and we don't want to stimulate the mind towards the night. We want the mind to start to calm, the mind to start to have space. We want space in the mind. We want calmness. We want relaxation. We don't want stimulation. We don't want hyper arousal. So hyper arousal, okay, during the day when you're jamming and you're getting things done, and you have the energy and juice, great. But at night, last thing we want is hyper arousal at night. And cortisol. Most people, cortisol should be highest in the morning. And for people that don't prioritize sleep, they don't get enough sleep, their hormones unoptimized, what happens is they get a cortisol spike at night. And it could be from between 1 and 4 p.m. In the morning, right? I mean, in a.m. So it's like you have to put in place these good practices to then calm the body, which would then allow it to do what it's naturally designed to do, which is get in a state of relaxation, rest and digest, right? The parasympathetic.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. And I'll just sum that up too for folks before we head to break. So the way that your hormones are supposed to work that Devin's highlighting here is that when you wake up, your cortisol is actually going to be highest. It's actually part of what wakes you up. And that is your stress hormone. And not necessarily in a bad way, but it's something that we unfortunately are constantly under the stress. We have a lot of stimuli that can turn on that stress, right? So we do not want cortisol, our stress hormone, to be pumping through our veins when we are trying to go to sleep. Because as Devin said, melatonin should be the thing that takes over, right? So if you're looking at a graph, cortisol would be highest and then in the morning, and then it would kind of go downhill towards the evening, and then melatonin would take over. And that's actually going to help you sleep. It's also an antioxidant. People forget that. So, melatonin is hugely, hugely important. And when you look at it on, say, like a Dutch test, which is a dried urine test that I use on every single client that comes in my door, you can see just how screwed up cortisol is throughout the day. People are creating plenty of it, but they're creating it at the wrong times, or it's completely suppressing melatonin. So we'll end on that. Devin, thank you so much. And we'll be back in just a few moments, and we're going to talk about some tactics that you guys can use to get to sleep.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
Sophie Shepard is a functional nutrition practitioner and founder of She. Sophie helps busy women all over the world go from hormonal chaos to optimal hormonal alignment so they can live their lives fully without being held back by their bodies. Using the power of functional lab testing combined with life-changing mindset shifts and integrating the entire body's system. If the only thing holding you back is your health, it's time to stop letting hormonal chaos run your world. Book your health discovery call today by going to shetalkshealth.com. Are you done medicating and guessing your way through the exhaustion, pain, and irritability caused by hormonal and digestive health issues? Sophie Shepard, founder of She, will help you go from symptom-ridden and confused to finally having clarity about how your hormones work and confidence in your health strategy in just 10 days. If you are ready to stop living with no energy, brain fog, anxiety, digestive issues, and painful periods, then check out the 10-day digestive and hormone reboot at shetalkshealth.com.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
You are listening to She Talks Health. If you have a question or comment about the show, send an email to sophie@she-nyc.com. That's sophie@she-nyc.com. Now back to She Talks Health.
Welcome back, everyone. This is your host, Sophie Shepard, and we're on the She Talks Health radio show. And we have Devin Burke here, who is a genius when it comes to getting good sleep. He is a certified sleep science coach and a TEDx international speaker. And he actually has something called the Sleep Science Academy that we're going to talk about at the end of the episode. And he is just shedding so much light on why people aren't getting good sleep, how we can prioritize it, and what we can actually do if we feel like sleep is elusive. So we've talked a lot about how sleep hygiene is important, but we're going to dive into it a little bit deeper because we really talked about the blue light and giving yourself a good buffer before you go to bed so that you can transition from the day that you've had into the beautiful night's sleep that you're going to have. And we've talked about some workarounds for blue light exposure, which keeps us up at night. But Devin, what else can people do, and what is good sleep hygiene? I mean, I know it's a pretty heavy subject. There's a lot you can do there. So break it down for us. And, for anyone who's listening, Devin and I were just talking in the break, don't feel overwhelmed, right? I know it's a little bit easier said than done, but if you're just starting out on the sleep journey, just know that these are not things that you have to do all at once. This is why Devin and I work with people over months and months of time to implement lifestyle changes. And just know that any progress forward, even the intention of progress forward, is a huge leaps and bounds to the right direction. So as Devin goes through these things, don't hate on yourself. There's always a good place to start, and you can just start with one thing at a time.
I love that you bring that up, Sophie. It's so important. I call it sleep transformations. And a transformation, think of it like a butterfly. It can be painful, it can be uncomfortable, but it takes time. And so again, some of the things that we're recommending here, you don't have to try it all tonight, but definitely try it. And what resonates with you, just put into place, tonight. Just take one or two things and see how it affects your sleep. So some of the other things around sleep hygiene, this is a big one. It's actually your bed environment. And so obviously you want it dark, right? So this is a big one, especially for people that are living in the city. So having blackout shades, or if you don't want to invest in blackout shades, you can always use an eye mask. Having it quiet. So again, if you live in the city, you can use try a white noise machine, or use white noise, have a fan blowing or something like that. And this is the really important one. It's temperature. You want your bedroom to be cold. And it's, for most people, they're surprised with it. Well, how cold? Between 65 and 68 degrees has been the optimal temperature for our bodies to get into deeper stages of sleep. And I did a study for preparing for my TEDx talk with 20 high performers. And one of the things that really affected quality of sleep was turning the temperature down. And there are a lot of cool tools available that you can purchase if you don't want to, ramp up your AC bill because you're dropping your temperature so cold in the summer. They make something called a chili pad. It's this pad that you lay on. And this is an amazing tool for premenopausal, menopausal, and postmenopausal women, because getting hot flashes and the body temperature starts to change. So this is essentially it's a mat that cools your body down. You can set the temperature to drop, and actually you can even set a timer so that it turns on different temperatures throughout the night. And it's amazing. There's another one called the Bed Jet, which is also clients have raved about. And this is kind of like a sort of like a fan that goes underneath your sheets, and it blows cool air into the sheet. Or you could just without purchasing anything, just drop the temperature down. And another way of doing this is, the reason why I take a hot shower at night is because taking a hot shower or a hot bath or a warm bath actually will drop your temperature down. And our bodies need to drop between 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit to induce the onset of sleep. So taking a hot shower or a hot bath, when you get out, your body's actually releasing that heat and your body temperature actually drops, and it makes induces sleepiness. So that's a big one. I'm huge on environments. I think, your bedroom, if there's any place in your home that you invest money in, it should be your bedroom. Now, hear me out. You spend the most time in your bedroom. We sleep 1/3 of our lives. Have a comfortable mattress. Invest in a good mattress. Keep your room clean. Make it dark. Make it cool. Make it a sanctuary. Put some plants in there. Make it like that's your place you go in to just have peace. And a lot of people have TVs, which is like the opposite of what you want in your bedroom. So there's a lot there.
Yeah, let's just take a pause. Wow. So I have never heard of the chili pad, is what you said. The chili pad was the first one,
chili pad,
and the bed jet. But that sounds incredible. And ladies, listen to what he said. Perimenopausal, menopausal women having hot flashes, right? This is a great tool for you. And if you are also having hot flashes and you are not going through menopause, obviously you need to give me a ring so we can run your hormones, because this was definitely my experience. I had perimenopausal hormone ranges because everything kind of tanked because of stress. So know that if you're having hot flashes and you're in your 20s and 30s, that is actually a sign that hormonally things could be off and you want to get that checked out. And in the meantime, what a great invention for you to have. And if you are a cycling female, know that your temperature will naturally shift if you are kind of I'll say healthily cycling. So that meaning that the first half of your cycle prior to ovulation, your estrogen is the highest concentration of hormone that's going on in your body, and that's going to be cooler. Whereas if you switch into the second half, progesterone is going to take over, and that's going to actually increase your body temperature. So use that when you think about this, how your sleep changes throughout the cycle. Interestingly enough, though, if you have adequate progesterone, it is actually going to help you sleep better. So if you are in the second half of your cycle and you're still not sleeping, and you've tried all of Devin's tips, which we're going to keep going on, that's when you really want to check that out and see if you're even creating enough progesterone to help you with that sleep. And if you're in the first part of your cycle and estrogen's high, and I always find that this is something I have to work harder to get good quality sleep when it's the first couple of weeks of my cycle, because estrogen is just like, I just seem to need less sleep, which is actually true. And it's harder to get sleep. So this is when I really lean deeply into some of the tips that Devin's going through. And some of these are brand new for me too, like the bed jet. So, okay. So what else can we try?
Yeah. So another big one is meal timing. So this is huge. And again, we're talking quality of sleep. So a lot of people can say, oh, I can eat a meal and go to sleep. And I actually need to eat a meal to be able to sleep. Right.
Blood sugar issues.
Right. Alert. So, and to be honest, it's so, you want at least 3 to 4 hours between the time that you're falling asleep and your last meal. And the reason for that is, again, we talked about in the beginning of the show, during the night, our bodies do a lot of things. Not like you're just laying there, nothing's happening. Lots going on. And so when we eat too close to bedtime, all the blood gets pushed into our digestive system to try to digest the food. And so it's diverting the energy that would normally be used to repair and recover the damaged cells and to do all the amazing things that happen during the night. It's diverting that energy to digest. And I've personally experienced this and tested this on a lot of people. And it's 100%. If you want to increase quality of sleep, you create a bigger buffer between your bedtime and your mealtime. So having your last meal earlier in the day and having a little bit of carbohydrate in that meal, healthy carbohydrate like sweet potato or some broccoli or some veggies, some good veggies, will be supportive of a higher quality sleep. And eating too close to bedtime is really going to diminish specifically deep sleep or delta sleep, which happens in the first quarter of the night. And that's important because delta sleep is when growth hormone, which is really important. I mean, that's like, we want more growth hormone, right? We want that super balanced. That's when that gets released. And so there's like this window of money sleep hours between, 10 p.m. and 1 p.m., let's just say. And that's when the first quarter of the night, that's when we get into the deepest stages of sleep. And that's what also gets disturbed when we eat too close to bedtime.
Wow. Yes. I am so glad you mentioned having some healthy carbohydrates with dinner. I found this as well to be super, super helpful for my clients, especially if you are a woman who thinks that cutting carbs is going to support your weight loss or something like that, which, the issue with that is that we do need some healthy carbohydrates and they come from plants. So, sweet potatoes, broccoli, those things can really help balance out our blood sugar alongside some healthy protein and other fibers. And we need healthy fat in there as well, guys. That's what, healthy proteins, healthy fats, they create hormones. And then we've got the balance with carbohydrates, which also provide our body with sufficient energy and with just nutrients, because most carbohydrates are going to come from a fibrous material like sweet potato or broccoli. And I find that when my clients have that healthy carb balance at night, that's when they really get good sleep. So I love that you included that.
Yeah. And you can, again, like some of the stuff I really want to encourage people to get a sleep tracking device, whether it's an iPhone, a Fitbit. The Oura Ring is, I think, the golden standard for tracking sleep. But you can see this. Like, this is the kind of cool things, if you get curious enough, you can actually experiment and say, hey, let me try eating at, 9 p.m. and see how that impacts my sleep. And then see how eating earlier, how that impacts your sleep. And then most importantly, see how it impacts the quality of your energy and your mental clarity and focus the next day. Because at the end of the day, it's not about, sleep is just about being able to live more, right? That's what it's about. It's not about, you shouldn't, live to sleep. We're sleeping to live, to get more energy. And so the whole premise around doing some of these practices is energy, because energy is the foundation of everything. If you don't have energy, you're not going to show up for your husband, wife, your kids, your community, your mission, your church, whatever. It's all about optimizing your energy to experience more life. And that's what happens when you put in place some of these practices that we're talking about.
Wow. Yes. Mic drop. Yeah. all of these sleep, nutrition, stress management. This is about experiencing more life. It's about choosing life. It's about loving yourself enough to choose that life. That's it. That's in a nutshell. I think that's beautiful. We're obviously on the exact same wavelength. Okay, so we've covered reducing blue light. We've covered dropping the temperature. We've talked about mealtime. I know that there's many, many other ones. You want to list maybe one or two other ones, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about some of the things that you offer in your Sleep Science Academy, because I want people to understand that resource that they have.
Yeah. So I would say the one more thing I think it's important to share right now specifically is really around the mind. A lot of people have a racing mind. I get this question all the time, Devin, how do I shut my mind off at night? And we kind of touched on it a little bit before about how the mind is not like a light switch. Actually, your mind doesn't ever shut off. Even when you're sleeping, it's sometimes even more active during the night than during the day. So creating some mindfulness practices, implementing some mindfulness. I'm a huge believer in mindfulness and meditation, and starting to train your body and train your mind to become aware of the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions that you have during the day actually really can be transformational for being able to then shift into the parasympathetic rest and digest at night. Just bring the awareness of I'm not my thoughts and starting to feel your emotions can actually start to train your mind when it gets into what I call a mind rev, where you're thinking like one thing, next thing. And it's like, before you know it, you're cortisol's releasing, adrenaline's releasing. You're like, if you can start during the day just to start to be mindful of what's causing these triggers. And right now, I can tell you without a doubt what's causing these triggers is constantly attached to the news. Check the news maybe in the morning, and then try not to check it too close to bedtime. And don't be constantly taking in information that is going to stimulate a racing mind. And, one of the most dangerous things that you could be thinking, especially close to bedtime, is the what if game. Mm-hmm. So be mindful of just the thought of when you start to go into the, well, what if this and what if that? Because that just leads to nowhere positive, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad we're bringing it back to mindset. So to add on to what Devin said, stress comes from either ruminating on the past or fearing the future, really,
Mm-hmm.
And it's because we're not present. And the quickest way to get into that fear place right now is by watching the news. And it's funny, everyone's reacting differently. Some people want to have oversaturation of the news. I find it, last night I actually got a little cross because it was just constantly kind of on. And what I was realizing was here we were, my dad and my boyfriend and I were all on our phones kind of looking at different things. And it was 9:30 at night and the news was on. And I'm like, oh, let's just turn this off. And he's like, well, they're saying good information. I'm like, they don't really know, they don't really know what's happening in our brain right now. Like, let's turn it off because I don't need to be overstimulated right before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And I think that that's right on. We obviously need to be tuned in to what's happening with this virus because it affects how we go about our day to an extent, and what's going on with our families and all of that stuff, of course. And we don't want to simplify that or not make that important for folks. Of course, stay in touch with what's going on. And in order for you to fully show up in your life right now and protect yourself, you also need to create a buffer around news. It's just, I believe that.
Yeah, I agree.
And whatever that means for you, however that's manifesting and showing up in your life. But I think Devin and I are both seeing just this uptick and lack of sleep because of it. So, and that's what we're talking about today. So I would agree with you. Keeping it short at night or doing it in the morning can be really helpful. And then if you must watch it at night, we can drop into some mindfulness and some meditation. There's so many resources out there for that. I use Headspace. I don't know what else you use.
Yeah, Headspace is a great one. I definitely recommend Headspace. I think they have a great beginners program. The one I personally use is actually called Waking Up. It's by Sam Harris, who's an amazing philosopher and very well studied. And he has an amazing program. I think that one's a little bit more for, I don't want to say an advanced meditator, but it's just a different style. And there's a lot of different styles of mindfulness and meditation. And I always encourage people, just like there's a lot of different types of exercise, a lot of different types of diet, you should try different types and see what resonates with you personally, because maybe transcendental meditation, a mantra-based meditation doesn't do it for you, but maybe, Vipassana practice might, or maybe just using an app like Headspace, where it has these little fun cartoons and kind of like this easy way of learning how to calm and create the space in your mind body. Maybe that works for you. So it's like, be open. I think it's really important to be open and to remain open and to remain curious about what's possible and to really commit to trying things on, because that's, at the end of the day, that's the only way we know if something is benefiting us, is if we try it on.
Absolutely. And I'll just add too, for anyone who is feeling overwhelmed by the idea of meditating, I am not a good meditator either. I don't say that I'm advanced in it in any way, but if you are looking for that kind of support, I actually created the She Community, which is a free Facebook group for women who are looking for support, looking for mindfulness, looking for wellness right now. And I am bringing in different experts to teach us different ways of meditating. And I'm doing some meditation as well in that group, just to give people a moment to create that buffer. Oftentimes we do it in the evening so that folks can kind of transition from their day into their evening. And it's been really, really helpful. We have a lot of women who are teachers that are in there, and it's really stressful right now for them. So they're finding this to be really, really useful. If you want to be part of that, you can just email me, sophie@she-nyc.com, or find me on Facebook. I'm Sophie Shepherd Quist there, and I'm happy to add you in if that's something that you're looking for. And okay, wow, we have covered a lot. Is there anything that we missed that we need to talk about? We talked about stress, we talked about food, we talked about temperature, we talked about blue screens. I love talking about the hot shower and bath. I've heard that before too. I didn't realize that actually helped you drop your temperature. Why we need sleep. Is there anything else, trends that you're seeing that need to be addressed on our call today?
Yeah, I think just the big one is just, kind of bringing a full picture, is realizing that, sleep is an essential part of health. It's a foundation of health. And by prioritizing it and putting in place practices, you're going to be able to, again, show up with more energy, more presence, more power for the people that you care about. So at the end of the day, it's really just continuing to, I think, connect with the reality that without sleep, we're not able to show up as our best selves, and let that be the motivation to put in place some new habits, some new rituals, some new routines, try some new things on, and maybe start a meditation practice or start a, bedtime ritual, a new one, spice it up, change it up. We didn't talk about sex and sleep. That's always a fun one, but we can save that for another conversation.
Wonderful. I love it. That's so funny. Yeah, I know that it can help sleep, but some people wakes them up. So I'd love to have that conversation another time.
Yeah, that's always a fun one. We'll save that for our next conversation, Sophie.
Absolutely. So with our last few moments, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the Sleep Science Academy. And for anyone who feels like they might need this support, there is a link in the notes of this episode, so you can click that and check it out. But Devin, tell us what this is, this academy.
Yeah. So Sleep Science Academy, essentially it's a resource for people that are curious about sleep. Specifically, it's a resource for insomniacs, people that have insomnia, chronic insomnia, acute insomnia, transient insomnia, anyone that's curious about sleep, or anyone that's suffering from sleep challenges. It's a resource. So you can go to sleepscienceacademy.com. I have free guides, I have free webinars. I just created a really cool sleep supplement guide where you can literally see each of the peer-reviewed supplements and which supplements, herbal and non-herbal, support different stages of sleep and are used for different things. So it's a resource. And obviously I offer programs, coaching programs for people that want the extra support. And I always tell people, our motto is stop suffering, start sleeping, because I believe that when you're not sleeping, you're suffering. And so it's a holistic, all the content it's based in science, but it's a holistic approach. So it's not just, looking at one aspect of health or sleep. It's really trying to bring everything together. And what I specialize in is helping people find the imbalances in mind body to help them be able to sleep. And so, I'd love to have everyone that's listening to this check out the resources, and you can always find me on social media, Devin Burke Wellness, or Sleep Science Academy. I have a couple pages there. So yeah, reach out.
Wow, wonderful. It's so great that they have this as a resource. And we didn't even talk about supplements, but I love that this is out there. I can't wait to check out the peer-reviewed supplement guide that you put together really quick for listeners who might be curious. I have found personally that GABA has been incredibly helpful when I'm ruminating. I have found L-theanine during the day to be really supportive and at night. And melatonin for me doesn't really work. It just makes me feel super, super groggy. Are there any other ones that you can just...
Yeah, I mean, we could have a whole conversation around this just alone. There's a lot out there. I mean, lemon balm is a great one. There's a lot of, Eastern herbs, like I can't even pronounce some of these herbs. But, the big ones like, melatonin, GABA, L-theanine, these are a combination of, sometimes hops, sometimes passion flower, kava. There's a ton of them. And on the resource guide, you'll kind of see what they do, where they come from. And a lot of times what's cool about these sleep supplements is they're synergistic. So they support each other. Using valerian root with hops, for instance, or something like that actually creates a more sedative effect. But everyone's different. And so it really depends. I think supplementation has to be personal, and it has to come from a really quality source, because, just melatonin alone, they've done tests on melatonin, and there is no consistency with the dosing, even within the same companies that produce melatonin. So it's ranged from I think 400 times more than what was on the label to I don't even know how 100 times less. So with supplements, it can be a bit challenging. I'm not a huge fan of melatonin because it's a hormone and it could disrupt our own natural production of melatonin, but a little bit can be beneficial, a little bit being 0.3 to 0.5 milligrams for onset. But yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah, that's a whole.
So go to the resource and check that out. Yeah.
Yes. So thank you so much, Devin, for coming on the show today, and go check out his resources. Click the link in the notes here, and you can get all of that, and you can have his support even deeper here. Devin, it's just been such a pleasure having this conversation, and I hope you have a great week.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for having me on the show. It was really fun. And I hope that this served your audience and helps people sleep better starting tonight.
Me too. This is Sophie Shepard, host of She Talks Health, signing off, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us this week for She Talks Health. Please join Sophie Shepard again next Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time for another episode of our show on the Voice America Health and Wellness channel. Have a great week.